In a stunning reversal, the Navy has upheld the firing of the aircraft carrier captain who urged faster action to protect his crew from a coronavirus outbreak, the Navy's top officer said Friday.
Admiral Mike Gilday, the chief of naval operations, also extended the blame for the ship's pandemic crisis, delaying the promotion of the one-star admiral who was also on board the USS Theodore Roosevelt, concluding that both men made serious errors in judgment.
The spread of the coronavirus aboard the carrier while on deployment in the Pacific in March exploded into one of the biggest military leadership crises of recent years. More than 1,000 members of the crew eventually became infected, and one sailor died. The ship was sidelined for weeks at Guam but recently returned to duty.
The ship's two top officers, said Gilday, failed to tackle the problem head-on and take charge, as the virus spread throughout the ship, and their actions fell well short of what we expect of those in command.
Gilday's decision to hold both Captain Brett Crozier and his boss, Rear Admiral Stuart Baker, accountable is a confirmation of concerns expressed by top Pentagon officials who demanded a deeper investigation last month when the initial probe recommended Crozier's reinstatement as the ship's captain.
The investigation, done by Admiral Robert Burke and endorsed Friday by Gilday, defends the abrupt turnaround on Crozier, saying that the more detailed probe uncovered poor decisions he made that failed to stem the outbreak or properly communicate the escalating crisis to senior commanders. It also concludes that the ship's slow response to the virus was not just his fault, and that Baker also failed to take decisive actions to address the problem.
Gilday told Pentagon reporters Friday that if he'd had all the details earlier when he made the initial decision to reinstate Crozier, he would have relieved him off command and pulled him from the ship.
Gilday's recommendations cap a drama that has engulfed the Navy for nearly 3 months, sidelining the carrier for 10 weeks in Guam, and setting off a dramatic series of events that led to Crozier's dismissal, the abrupt resignation of the acting Navy secretary who fired him, and the push for a broader review of the Pacific Fleet's top commanders and how they handled the virus outbreak.
Based on the findings, Crozier and Baker would be able to remain in the Navy and move on to other jobs at their current rank, but the admonishments are likely career enders for both men. Crozier would not be eligible for another command job.
Crozier's firing upset the carrier's crew at the time, and he received cheers and applause as he walked off the ship. Gilday said Friday that in several instances he believes Crozier put the crew's comfort ahead of its safety. He said the commanders were slow to move the sailors off the ship and released sailors from quarantine in one area of the ship too quickly.
The recommendations reflect concerns expressed by Navy Secretary Kenneth Braithwaite, who told a Senate committee in early May that the service was in rough waters and suffering from leadership failures. Braithwaite, who the official said endorsed Gilday's report, pledged to the Senate Armed Services Committee during his confirmation hearing that he would restore a culture of good order and discipline to the service.
In late April, after a preliminary review, Gilday recommended that Crozier be returned to command the Roosevelt. But Defense Secretary Mark Esper and General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, pressed for a delay in a wider investigation of the coronavirus crisis on the ship, suggesting the need for deeper scrutiny of actions and decisions by senior admirals in the Pacific, a region critical to America's national security interests.
The COVID-19 outbreak on the Roosevelt was the most extensive and concentrated spread of the virus across the U.S. military. It eventually sent all of the 4,800 crew members ashore for weeks of quarantine, in a systematic progression that kept enough sailors on the ship to keep it secure and running.
More broadly, it put out of commission a massive warship vital to the Navy's mission of countering China's power in the Asia-Pacific region.
When the coronavirus outbreak was discovered on the Roosevelt, Crozier sent an email to several commanders pleading for more urgent Navy action, including the removal of nearly all sailors from the ship to protect their health. That email was leaked to media, and the acting Navy Secretary at the time, Thomas Modly, accused Crozier of bad judgment and directed that he be relieved of command April 2.
Days later, amid an uproar of his handling of the matter, Modly resigned and was replaced by James McPherson. Braithwaite's nomination to be secretary was still pending at the time. He took over earlier this month after he was confirmed by the Senate. In the report Friday, Gilday concluded that Crozier did not intentionally leak the email.
The Roosevelt, meanwhile, spent weeks in port in Guam, as crew members rotated ashore for quarantine and isolation at the military base and in hotels around the island. After about 2 weeks of training at sea, the carrier returned to operations at sea with a reduced crew on June 4. Sailors have continued to fly back to the ship from Guam after they have recovered from the virus or completed 2 weeks of quarantine.
On Thursday, 2 of the ship's aviators ejected from their FA-18 fighter jet while conducting a training flight and were rescued in the Philippine Sea and found to be in good condition. The incident is under investigation and it's not clear whether the crew's long layoff in Guam or rapid return to sea played any role in the crash.
The Roosevelt's experience with the virus, however, spurred the development of widespread cleaning and health precautions across the military. And it also gave federal health authorities a population of sailors to test, providing greater insight into the science and the spread of the virus.